Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs. If you are just joining us for the first time, welcome, hello. It's lovely to have you. I'm just going to change over my monitor so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so our goal here is to play through Bloodborne with a slightly non-conventional build, and just take it a little bit slower than you might normally. We're not going to be speed running. We're not going to be making use of any exploits. We're just going to be looking through these levels and trying to see interesting and cool things about Bloodborne that maybe you'd miss after just one glance. So. Since I saw you all last, I've made some changes. First of all, as some of you may have noticed already, I'm wearing Father Gasquagny's clothes, having defeated him at the end of the Central Yharnam area. We gain access to his cool, sort of cleric-y clothes, and I think they look pretty good on us actually. I like them. It's sort of they got a lot of belts, especially around the chest, which is a great place to have belts. Just a wonderful place. And we got a sort of cloak and a nice little hat. It's great. I love it. But it's not the only thing that I've got. I've also got, if I remembered to equip it last time, a new weapon. It is, of course, the Blade of Mercy. Now, some of you might be a little sad looking at this weapon because you remember how we got it. And how we got it was to, it was maybe to be a little aggressive to Eileen the Crow, who many people would have you believe did nothing wrong, and maybe that's true. It's impossible to say for certain, but what I do know is we have the Blades of Mercy. That's the only thing anyone can say for sure. And it's just, wow, it owns. I was I took some time to level it up before the beginning of this stream, and also buy some blood vials so we're less likely to run out. And it owns. I've never used it in any sort of meaningful capacity before, and it's so good. I love it. So we have our standard slashing motion. We have what I wanted this weapon for, is an extremely fast and extremely active backstab. This is going to help us a great deal when we're fighting one of the bosses that we're going to be fighting. I love it. But moreover, instead of our crappy axe where we do a big hulking slash, or we transform and we do a long hulking slash, we have our little knife, which does its deft, sort of quick slashes. And then we get one of my favorite trick weapon animations in the game: two knives. And when we have two knives, things get ridiculous real fast, because where with other weapons you have to combat. Excuse me. Combat's kind of like a dance with the other weapons. You step to the left, you step to the right, you try and identify where your opponent's attacks are coming from, you dance, and you take advantage of gaps in their offense. Whereas the knives have an attack pattern like this. We just all damage all the time. All damage. Just damage. We never have to take a stop. We never have to break. We just wait until we can attack, and we just attack forever. It's great. I love it. Oh hey, it's Stupul. Welcome to the stream, Stupul. Hopefully you like what you see. So, not only that, but the transformation attacks are cool, and we get one of the cooler transformation animations going back to the base form for the blade, which is this one. Oof. Oh, it's good. See how it sort of snaps around? Ooh, good. It's another thing about the animations in this game is, particularly the trick weapon animations, is they base them around sort of a build up to and payoff for a single much larger than life action, like that. That all happens so fast in a kind of smear frame that you don't really see it, and you shouldn't see it, right? Like, it looks much better that way. It all just kind of vanishes inside in a kind of completely ridiculous, but thereby completely awesome way. And like, it's the same here. Like, we get our big break at the top, which focuses us directly ahead at the face of the hunter, and then we get this cool whip around, like, oof. How does any of that happen? I don't know. It's all in sort of smear frames, but because because we get that big long pause at the end before it snaps, it really sells the whole animation, and I love it. But anyway, enough about that. Let's carry on with what we were doing. Now, if I remember correctly, the next thing that we're going to do is return to the Cathedral Ward. Because there's a few things here that we're interested in. Not only sort of general progression for the game, but also some little kinks of the system. It involves, if anyone was here last time, it involves yet more platforming, which is maybe my my single weakest area on Bloodborne play, but it is what we shall be doing anyway. So we're just going to be wandering back up here by way of the Healing Church Workshop. So I guess while we're making this perhaps kind of familiar journey through this area with you know, our friends the wheelchair men and the Yarnamite mobsters, I just want you to, there's some themes I guess I want you to just kind of have ready in your mind for discussion as we go on, because when they arrive they do so pretty thick and pretty fast. And those themes are the idea of femininity in this world, the world of Bloodborne, which so far has been kind of overly masculine. Like, the one we've met, as far as I'm aware, we've met two explicitly feminine presenting characters, one of whom was a defenseless child and one of whom was a nun who wouldn't move because she was so terrified. So as we progress and we move towards maybe more characters of this type, I guess I want you to think about how Bloodborne is interested in presenting these ideas, because it certainly is interested in presenting these ideas, and in a pretty strange way. So watch out for that. We can try and grab this. Hey, we did it. Ah, yes, the messenger top hat. Oh, life is good. I'd completely forgotten that was in here. The chat is reminding me that actually the first explicitly feminine character we killed in the game, or we've met in the game, was Eileen, who I killed. That is absolutely correct. I'm sure one day my sins will catch up to me, but it will not be today. So we're gonna take a shot and roll off here. We're going to see if we can kill this beast that we met last time, but gave us some trouble. Let's see if we can utilize this shiny new moveset of ours. Oh, he's got fire. See, the fun never stops. The fun never ever stops. We just get a second hit in and the stagger begins. That was a complete complete accident, but ended up looking pretty cool. And we got a rune. A beast rune from this beast, which is, you know, subtle, but effective. Already covered in blood. Grim. Anyway, that gets us to the bottom of the Healing Church Workshop Tower, and we end up here. In some Yharnam lower streets. So this is again kind of a cool thing about Bloodborne is it's just more verticality, I guess, more of that nice space folding that we like so much, and it's really on display here as well. Just like, you know, we come down here, we're down this big workshop tower, and we end up at another sort of street alleyway kind of area, and, you know, we're kind of led to think, we're led to draw connections to, you know, Central Yharnam that we've just been to, and I guess the way that these places will fold together is about to become clear to us, so watch out for that, I guess. One thing worthy of note is, I guess, that the members of the mob have sort of weird sacks on their faces, which, as you can kind of see if you look closely enough, are trying to hide that strange wiry hair that we observed before. So I guess this is allowing us to observe a progression in the curse, if you will, of the Yharnam residents. And they're like, you know, they're clearly aware of what's happening to them, and they're clearly disgusted by it, which is why they try and hide it. But it doesn't stop them. They're still going. Oh, there's a bagman. I'm trying to avoid that bagman if we can. I don't like bagmans. See, look at that. Just all damage all the time. It's so strong. Okay. I'm going to forsake those items to avoid having to fight that bagman. We can come back. So, Regression is asking if these enemies change if you hit an insight threshold. That is an extremely good question, to which I do not know the answer. And look, so we go up a lift, quite not unlike the one that we found in the Healing Church Workshop, and we end up here. But where is here? Well, if we look through this gate, we can see that it is actually the other side of a gate that we maybe caught a glimpse of on the way out of the Erden Chapel. And this is your classic Soulsborne shortcut. Made even sweeter, even more pleasurable to navigate by the fact that the door opened to us because we fought an optional boss. So now we feel rewarded in not one but two ways. We were dedicated enough to fight the optional boss, and we were observant enough to find the secret way through to the lower Healing Church Workshop that got us here. Great for us, super great for us. So, we've established this connection, and now we can get here much more easily from the Erden Chapel bonfire lantern. You want to see my active frames? You want to see them? You want to see my active frames. Got more active frames than me, that's sad. Another thing I really liked about these weapons when I was trying them out is that having your big, your flaily combo is really good, but you can end it with this for almost no cost. So if you time it just right, you see how far my stamina bar goes down when I do this. It's quite a lot, but if we do it, you know, the way that the Soulsborne stamina system works is that if you do a high stamina action as your stamina bar empties, you can basically get a load of stamina for free, and that works really well with this flail combo. See, we get a big long combo, and then if we remember to mash the buttons properly, we get our big strike at the end. And it does a lot of damage. Again, I'm going to avoid going over there because, well, There's nothing interesting for us over there at the moment. I wonder if we can show off this this fast backstab window. Yeah. Okay, are we back? Are we back? Sound off in the chat if we're back. OBS seems to think we're back. Hooray, we're back. Cool. That was a weird hiccup, but I guess it's over now. Okay, let's change my monitor back and we can continue. So I guess I'm going to assume that backstab is cursed, and I'm just going to avoid it for the rest of this stream, at least until I can reproduce the issue. Oh wow, hey, thanks for following whoever it was that just followed. I can't see your name right now because my stream setup is pretty bad, but I completely forgot to mention, but if we get, I think after this one it's 2 more follows, I get Twitch affiliated, which means you can all subscribe to my channel for, I guess, benefits. It certainly benefits me because I get money. Anyway. So yeah, we get some numbing mists and more hats for our messengers, which is great. I love that, and I kind of love this too. Like running onto these residential, obviously they're still dark Gothic houses, but running onto these residential houses, we get a nice sort of, I guess, again, a more vertical perspective on this familiar location, which I like a lot. It also sets up this really nice contrast between these very, very Gothic churchy buildings and these... Oh my gosh, thank you so much for following whoever it was that just followed. But yeah, it sets up this nice contrast between these very, very churchy buildings and these residential buildings for quote-unquote normal people, as normal as a person can be in the world of Bloodborne, which I like. The other thing is we got some... where are they? Oh, they were just there. There we go. We got some numbing mists, which look innocuous, but will be super, super, super useful to us in about half an hour. So keep those in mind. Yeah. So we're gonna press on, I think. Get back down here. We're going to push on into the cathedral ward because it's a cool area that I like. My body's going to twitch a bit because physics engines are fun. Oh yeah, this is a fun thing. So if you can hear those big thunderous footsteps, we're about to see something that is gonna maybe challenge our perception of the reality of the world of Bloodborne, because we've seen... Well, ow! That was rude. That was extremely rude. You didn't have to do that. I was trying to talk. Gonna have to kill this guy before I can fucking... But as Regression in the chat has accurately stated, it is in fact big boy season. So this thing is this is clearly unreasonably large for a person to be. Like these clerics may be imposing figures, but that's something else. And I guess what this does is it builds for us the association of the church and monstrosity. Like so far we've seen Gasquagni turn into a weird werewolf beast, and we've seen the cleric beast, right? And I mean, we've also seen the Bloodstarved beast. Ooh. Completely missed that. So yeah, so now that we're in the cathedral ward, we got this thing. This fun character. He's a big axe guy friend. And yeah, like, this is an association that's going to follow the church for the rest of the game. Not just the church, but definitely the church of a number of factions. They just love a big old monster. They love them. Oof. It is indeed big boy season. Oof. So yeah, the cleric beast, pretty churchy and monstrous, and indeed there's some text in the game that leads us to believe that, you know, Gisgragni was at least church adjacent, and he too turned into a giant horrible beast. And now we've got these giant horrible beasts with big axes just wandering around the cathedral ward. What does that say about the church? What does that say about the church's priorities? What does that say about the church's nature? We've got these big old church beasts just wandering around this graveyard. That's ominous. This is an area I really like as a space to navigate in the world of Bloodborne. These enemies have a design which I guess I would call very post Dark Souls, where they're very big and their attacks have very large wind-ups, which means that you're tempted to dodge them the way that you evade most enemies in Dark Souls, which is to, you know, wait for an opening and then dodge. But these ones, the reason I would say that they were post Dark Souls is that they often try to mislead you with where their attacks will go versus where their animations make them look like they'll go. And this was something that happened quite extensively in Dark Souls 2, another very post Dark Souls game. It was quite widely criticized at the time, but it was one of my favorite things about the game, and it's one of my favorite things about these folks. You know, they do the big wind up, and then they show that the designer has thought about where any old player will try and dodge based on that wind up, and they've tried to maneuver around that while still having the attack animation look like it makes sense, and I dig that a lot. These enemies drop a lot of blood vials, which is good for me. Good for me, good for me. And good for you, as the viewers. Did we get an automatic transformation attack on that dash attack? I can't tell. Maybe my finger glanced the button, I'm not sure. Anyway, so, yes, as I was saying before, I was rudely ganked by a big axe friend. This space to navigate I really enjoy in Bloodborne, because we have this big old stairwell. So, like, you come into this area, and there are two ways you can go, and your eyes are drawn this way, which is good design, because that's where we should be going. This is where the advancement of the plot is. But each of these spaces is in itself interesting to move through anyway. Like, we have this very linear directional space that you want to walk into. You want to just keep following these stairs up to their conclusion. We want to ascend. Ascending is cool. But then we also have this cool graveyard space where there are these really big enemies hulking in a big orbit, but there are lots of things to hide behind, lots of places to avoid them. So we want to go this way too. And I guess this is a very sort of micro-scale example of ways in which the Soulsborne games, they expect you to move in radically different ways between spaces. And the system they've designed works really well for that, and I dig it. I dig it a lot. I don't know if I'm going to want to fight these things too much. I mean, I guess I missed a visceral window the last time I fought one, so maybe it'll go better this time. Let's keep it okay. In the interest of variety, it is after all. Ow, rude. Extremely rude. I'm dead? I'm not dead. Cool. I love that. let's get our knife on, our real knife on. See, look at that. The wind-up lasts a little longer than you'd think. Oh, I've got the wrong altitude. Has anyone made a one of those 5'11", 6-foot memes with the hunter and these tall friends? Because that feels like Twitter numbers waiting to happen. Oh my gosh, it's Shock Sorbet. Hey, welcome to the stream. We're killing some tall boys. How did we get that visceral attack before? Did we just get like a stagger off? Weird. Oh. Ouchie. Rude. Extremely rude. Oh! That was a big attack. I accidentally jumped past him and it still hit me. Okay, that's not a practical solution here. Owned. Nice wind up. Ah, blood vials. I love those. So yeah, another thing to notice here is that a lot of the item drops, I mean, I know I've said that a lot of the item drops are Madmen's knowledge anyway, but a lot of the item drops here are Madmen's knowledge. Which, given what we know about the nature of insight and its relation to the narrative of the game, is a subtle hint that maybe the church is maybe the church is not quite as holy as they'd have you believe, or maybe holiness in Yharnam has a completely different connotation to what we would expect. That's something that will definitely come up. So yeah, I'm going to explore this cathedral ward because I like this area. I like this area a lot. Ooh, this is a cool enemy. So this is another one of our clerics, a familiar enemy type, but with a subtle difference. They have a flamethrower, which is maybe not the kind of thing that you would expect your standard religious avatar to have, unless of course, you're a particularly cynical person and the idea of purification is one that strikes you as a dog whistle, in which case, well spotted. Wow, yeah, that's a really strong attack, huh? Didn't get a very good look at it, but it's straying. Oh, hello. So this is the place that matches up with what we know of the Erden Chapel right here. This is where our lantern is. And if we had not opened this door by defeating the Bloodstarved Beast, then to get through the gate that we just opened from the other side, we would have needed a key that you can buy from the Hunter's Dream for on the order of 20,000 souls, which is not only quite a lot of souls, but also denies us denied us a trip to Old Yharnam, which none of us want. Old Yharnam, we love Old Yharnam on this stream. It's one of our favourite places. So another cool thing about this area is these tall boys, the tall friends. They patrol in a very purposeful way, which, when your space is orbital, like that graveyard, behaves completely differently to when the space is linear and tight, like this one. And I like that a lot. It means that the same enemy design varies very significantly based on where the enemy is, which is really neat. I like it. So we're going to go down here. We're going to be sure not to do that backstab attack in case it crashes the stream again. And yeah, see what we can see. Ow, rude. Big damage. I'm owned. Oh, no, wait, never mind. I was lucky. What up, crow? Really tearing through my blood vials here. Oh, suck. Oh, that was abysmal. So a lot of people in the chat are likening the possession of flamethrowers by the priests in this game to a similar visual motif in Warhammer 40k, and I think that's a very astute observation. I think that game, that world, and this world are maybe trying to say slightly similar things about the idea of organized religion. You know, maybe literal, actual imperialism and a more subtle, class-based cultural imperialism are not so different. You. Oh, this is gonna suck. Oh, this is gonna suck! Ugh. Die. No! Jeez, that was close. Love a bit of frantic knifing. It's the best kind. Chat is reminding me that I still have a gun and can indeed still parry those friends, which I think is probably a good shout, because I've taken maybe slightly too much damage from attack patterns that I should have been avoiding. That didn't work. That was extremely strange. Ow! Gosh darn it. This is a cool encounter design, actually. It's something that came up earlier on the bridge on the way to the Cleric Beast, but we were able to avoid it by pulling the giant away from the crows. But the crows lurk just below your eye level, and therefore, when you're not really paying attention, just dodging around them, they go unnoticed. But his friend has managed to get himself stuck on that rail, so that was nice and easy. Okay. So this is another nice little scene. This is, I guess, similar to what we were talking about at the what was it? The Abandoned Hunters Workshop, where it gives us a very broad perspective of Yharnam, which we've seen in a very tight fashion previously, and I just like this view a lot. It gives us a good view of not only the sort of, I guess, tightly wrapped location of Yharnam, but also of the sky, and being able to see the sky, particularly in this game, is really nice and good. Nice. But yeah, we're gonna head over here. How you doing there, buddy? So this is another one of our giant friends, but with a slight twist, as you can maybe see in their hand there. Slash. So yeah, I think that might be the only place that that variant pops up, and yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have too much more to say about that. Like it uses the same philosophy with respect to wind-ups that don't necessarily tell you exactly where the attack will land, but in a slightly different way, because its weapon is, instead of being, you know, a long stick, is on a chain, so it like snaps around and stuff. Its momentum moves it in unpredictable directions, which is cool. So if anyone is recognizing these pots at all, it's because we have in fact been here before. This is a location that is pretty close to the abandoned healing church workshop that we found recently. I don't know exactly where the door is, but it's nearby, I'm sure. It's a similar sort of, I guess, underground visual motif. So yeah, we're gonna head back up and we're gonna go around the rest of the cathedral ward, because there's plenty more for us to see. Another thing I really like about the designs of these enemies is because their attacks are so long and very they sweep all the way around them. It means the consequence of that is that they're very active attacks, which is sort of, I guess, game attack design terminology for the length of time for which they damage you is very long. They have a lot of active frames. They have a lot of frames in the animation that deal damage to the player, which has the consequence of making them quite difficult to dodge through. Like a more active attack with more active frames requires more invincibility frames to get through. And that is cool. That is a very cool thing in a Dark Souls enemy, because a thing about the Dark Souls games is that, a thing that is good about the Dark Souls games is that your dodge gives you a quite generous amount of invincibility frames, which makes avoiding attacks easier, because it means that when you feel like you should have dodged an attack, more often than not you have. But a very active attack means that a very active attack with a corresponding big animation means that you have to change up your dodging patterns, and you have to change up your dodging patterns. You have to dodge more purposefully to avoid an attack, and what that means is, I guess, the way that you fight different enemies is different. But moreover, it doesn't make you feel like you don't finish those dodges and think, man, I should have evaded that attack. As in, you don't feel cheated by the game. because the animations are so big and sell the attacks so well. And that is another way in which Bloodborne's combat design is very smart. I think this is one of the most potent graduations of craftsmanship, I guess I would say, between Dark Souls and Bloodborne. It's something you can see a little bit in Dark Souls 2 as well, but I think it's most fully realized in Bloodborne is the incorporation of snap into the animations in the attacks. Like the animations in Bloodborne make the animations in Dark Souls look just like complete ass, in a way that is good. Like it's a testament to the craftsmanship of Bloodborne. I dig it a lot. Wow, that dash attack is really something, huh? Maybe I should try and close out my combos with that more often. But yeah, like snappy animations, they make a video game. Like, ask anyone who's played a lot of fighting games, ask anyone who's played a lot of character action games, like, snappy animations are great. They make you feel great. Even when you're being hit by them, they make you feel great. Because it convinces you. It makes you... Even though, like, on a frame-by-frame basis, you might argue, if you were wrong, that it looks less naturalistic, it convinces you that the movements are, I guess, realistic, or, I don't know, it sells the movements, is how I would put it. Now, there's someone we're looking for down here. So, this is the next explicitly feminine character we're going to meet in Bloodborne. Her name is, I believe, Ariana, and she is that dialogue there is meant to sort of gently nudge at us that Ariana is, well. So she tells us that this is no place for a lady, among other things, which is meant to gently hint at the idea that Ariana is a lady of the night or similar. And I guess it's interesting that of all of the many infinite things that feminine people could choose to do with their lives, Bloodborne chooses to present us with a child who is defenseless without her parents, both of whom are dead. A nun who is defenseless without her god, and a lady of the night, which is interesting. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing on the part of Bloodborne, but it's very it's a bold statement, and taken together, you need to take it together with the totality of the rest of Bloodborne to really unpack what that statement means. And I guess what I'm saying is a lesser game might less convincingly make that statement, but whether you are convinced by Bloodborne's making of that statement, that is another matter. We'll find out as we continue. For now, we're going to tell Ariana that Erden Chapel is a safe place. And we will indeed see her there. She will in fact become a semi-pivotal character in the story as it unfolds. Another thing I wanted to pick up on that Ariana said was that she's off during hunts, which, you know, for a sex worker is a sort of, I guess, a slightly ominous statement. It conveys to us that the hunt is, I mean, it conveys to us a number of things, but one of the things it can convey to us is the idea that someone in a line of work such as hers does not want to take the risk of interfacing with her normal clientele on the night of the hunt. Like, during this environment of, as we can see, pretty heightened violence and, you know, societal upheaval. That's how it's a way that Bloodborne tries to communicate these things to us. So it's an interesting way, and a way that I think ultimately kind of works. Ugh, the enemies down here do a lot of damage. I'm not a fan. They're even aiming at you. What the heck? This has gone really badly. Okay. So another thing that is really interesting about this place in particular, and its sort of status as a lower alleyway in what is actually one of the higher areas in Yharnam, is that in this alleyway we've got the standard mood smoke that you see in alleyways all over the world, but coffins just out in the streets and like chained to doors, or chained to buildings, I guess, in a kind of almost a kind of bring out your dead kind of way, but obviously with Bloodborne's stock level of extremely gothic, extremely moody polish, and that's a cool visual detail. Whole mess of poison knives too. Ow. God, the crows are so loud. There's really nothing I can do about that. Like, as a sound, they're just way louder than any other sound in the game. And I like it, it's cool. But for sort of mixing a stream that's meant to be seen by other people, it's, kind of weird. But hopefully it's not too much. So yeah, someone in the chat, Will in fact, is in the chat talking about how selling is an apt word to describe what they've done with their animations, in that it's sacrificed realism in favor of giving the blows weight and impact, not unlike wrestling, and it is a lot like wrestling. The concepts are very similar, but I guess I would sort of be interested in making the distinction between, or in fact, sort of not making the distinction, but identifying the lack of distinction between an animation selling something and like the feeling of realism, like, or they haven't like. The sacrifice of realism to create animations that snap is, I guess, an interesting way of putting it, because like an animation that snaps ultimately feels more real by virtue of looking on a frame-by-frame basis less realistic, and that's to do with how the human brain threads together images. Like, the human brain doesn't give you a frame-by-frame update of what's happening. That's why graphics effects like motion blur exist. They want to mud together a series of frames that happen in sequence to try and make it look more like what your brain would give you. But anyway, that's enough about that. The Watchman of Bergenworth guards the gate with the password, the sacred adage of the Grand Cathedral. Okay, so this is one of the less interesting notes that we're going to find, but it's basically telling us that in order to get to the next area, we need a password, a sort of watchword of the Grand Cathedral. So to get over there, we're going to need to go over there and get a password, which we'll do. Sorry, dog. Okay, I think we're going to continue exploring off to the edge of the side areas that come off of the graveyard. And we're going to explore one last little pathway before we have a pop at the area boss. I have no idea how well my fight with the area boss is going to go. We shall see. So these are an interesting enemy, and I don't know if I can demonstrate how interesting they are without dying, which I'm not super interested in doing at the moment. So I guess we'll just go hog wild in there for now, and maybe come back to them later. But they're quite clearly like very different from the sort of characters that we've seen so far in this game. Like they're almost featureless grey things with like tendril-like hair coming off their heads, which bears a stark contrast to the remains of the mobsters that I keep saying mobsters. Remains of the members of the mob that have a wiry sort of wolf-like hair. So that's an interesting kind of divergence that we're going to want to pay attention to, I guess. So we're just going to come down these stairs and right. So this, I do declare, is the door to, I believe it's, yeah, the door to Bergenworth mentioned by that note that we found earlier, for which we need a password. And I think I really love just the classic Bloodborne thing where someone asks us tells us some perfectly reasonable information, and then just has a good old laugh about it for no real reason. I quite like that. It gives you a sort of feeling that everyone is laughing at a joke that you don't get, and is possibly at your expense. I really like that. It gives the game a sort of unique mood while being. It's sort of quite common in your Soulsborne games, I guess. It's just for everyone to just have a fun little laugh about something that they don't really tell you about. I like it. And I think that might be us done for this area, because we've done that. Yeah, I think now we're going to take a run up the stairs and try and get to the Grand Cathedral, because that way lies progress. But before we do that, I think I'm going to spend these blood echoes, because we've got quite a few. Oh hey, we can summon, I believe this is an old hunter here. I'm not going to, but we can. So just a quick trip back to the hunter's dream, and then we will attend the area boss. Okay, so in service to our Blades of Mercy, we're going to get some more skill. And probably one more if we can afford it with these cold bloods that we have.
Farewell, good maid.
Ooh, it's going to be close. Ah, we're okay. Yeah, well, it actually wasn't that close.
Welcome. What is it? Very well. Let me stand close. Now shut your eyes.
Okay. Bear in mind, this might be the last stream that we ever end up leveling up skill, because the blood tinge is coming, and it's coming soon. So Regression is in the chat asking how long I need this weapon for. The answer is for this boss. Oh, hey, look, here's Ariana.
Oh, hello, dear. You weren't lying. This is a safe place. Thank you. I am in your debt.
She teaches us to curtsy.
I'd like to tender my thanks, but I can't imagine what to offer. All I can give is my blood.
This is a kind of weird thing. She just kind of offers you some blood. I'm going to refuse her blood. I don't really, you know. But yeah, she'll end up giving us plenty without really wanting to. So I think we'll probably avoid taking her blood. So yeah, Regression is asking how long I'll need this weapon for. The answer to that question is for this boss, one more, and then the boss of Canhurst Castle, which is the area after this one. I can't believe I died by that. That was terrible. So we're just going to rush down this this area, boss. Travel up these cathedral steps. Meet some even less subtle cleric chaps with their crosses. We're going to open up this door. Big ceremonial cathedral door. I like cathedrals. They're ostentatious. And as soon as we walk in, we see some more of that disturbing imagery that we saw right at the bottom down in the Hypergean jail, which I have recently learned I was pronouncing incorrectly the entire time. But now I will endeavour to pronounce properly. Yeah, so these don't look like angels. I mean, I guess they do look like angels, but they don't look like the traditional conception of angels that we're familiar with. They look more sinister, they look more other, they look more alien. More alien. And I guess this is one of the things that we really want to hold in our heads as we delve further and further into the imagery explored by the church in Bloodborne. Is that so these are very obviously inspired, or you know, at least closely related to the concept of otherworldliness, mainly presented in Howard Phillips Lovecraft's work. And it's not a coincidence that Lovecraft chose sea creatures to model his ideas on. It's I mean, Lovecraft was you know, as not everyone, but as many people know about Lovecraft was a deeply racist man, and a lot of the fears Lovecraft described were rooted in that kind of in a very basic kind of fear of the other, which is pretty boring and tedious. But he viewed the things he feared as nonetheless alien, and the reason that he chose sea creatures to compare them to describe them as in his work is because the sea and it's like the things that live in the sea are very much sort of almost the first like truly alien thing that many people, particularly I guess of around Lovecraft's time, like truly alien thing that people came into contact with, like before the advent of lots of museums and the advent of widespread information comparison. Like there were all kinds of stories about stuff that was in the sea, and indeed some of that stuff still persists today, because finding stuff that is in the sea is so difficult because the sea is so big and so dark, and therefore it's kind of natural that these fears of otherworldliness would track with the sea. So now that we've talked extensively about why Cthulhu looks like a squid, we are going to move forward with this. Now, I don't know if you can hear it super well because I've turned the game volume down, but this person up ahead of us, who you can just see, is delivering a prayer. And I haven't actually listened to it in full before, but from what I'm hearing of it now, it seems like she's talking. I guess she's trying to invoke her faith to bring an end to the hunt and demonstrate faith that, you know, the people she believes as righteous will be triumphant in the hunt. She's also talking about partaking of communion, which is a fun religious phrase that gets a new lick of paint for this game. But anyway, rather than continuing to talk about this thing that I don't fully understand because I've not heard it all, we're just gonna wander in here and see what this person has to say. Maybe she can tell us if there are any programs or any wafers left. So this is Amelia, and she is the 4th explicitly effeminate character that we're going to meet in Bloodborne. And, well, there's a great deal going on here. There's a great deal of, very, very purposefully used imagery going on here. But, of course, this is a video games, and the main way that we're going to be interacting with that imagery is by stabbing it. And again, we have one of my favourite pieces of music in this game. So Vicar Amelia is one of the harder bosses for me in this game. I found her exceptionally difficult, and as a result of that, I cannot guarantee that we're going to kill her on this stream, because she's strong, she's big, and she have good attacks. She's also, like many of the difficult bosses in Bloodborne, exceptionally well designed. In ways that I'm going to do my best to talk about, while also doing my best to fight this boss, because there's a lot I like about this boss. There's a lot to like about this boss, and I like most of it. It's just now occurring to me that I have not equipped those numbing mists that I mentioned earlier, making me a big egg, and not the good kind. Visceral attack. There we go. Right in the noggin. Am I... No, I'm not. I'm not strong enough to try and equip the numbing mists while fighting. That's not something I'm prepared to do. I'll do it for next time, if indeed we die, but I'm definitely not doing it during the fight. That is just going to get me owned, and I'm already being owned. Oh, come on, come on, nope. There we go. She is getting a lot of defense buffs there. Be angry. To be fair, I would be, in her case. She's getting stabbed a lot. Oof, that nearly went very wrong. Okay, this is going very well for us. Ooh. Come on. Wow. That was really, really rough. So yeah, that's a pretty big attack, and unlike the rest of her attacks, I guess it comes along the ground from behind her, which makes it very difficult to read where it's coming from. Which is a shame. We were doing pretty well there. We were doing way better than I expected, actually. But that's fine. This is Soulsborne. We live, we learn. And sprinkling that attack in there, though maybe I think it does maybe a little bit too damage. Sprinkling a little bit too much damage. Sprinkling that attack in there, I think, is a really neat touch because it means that you have to vary where you're looking to read her attacks properly, and I like that. Variety is the spice of life, and Bloodborne understands that pretty well. That was a shame. We certainly got that in one go. This time. Okay, so that combo is lasting too long. Oh my gosh, it's the Cassius. Metal Slug 2 owns. I will always stand Metal Slug 2. Like, Metal Slug 3 is the Metal Slug that I've played the most, but I think Metal Slug 2 remains my favorite. Just for the fact that towards the end, I feel like Metal Slug gets a little is hampered by the reality of capitalism under which it was made, because it's a really cool game. It looks gorgeous. It's fun to play, but towards the end, it just really wants your quarters. So you just die a lot, which in the cold light of day, where all of the arcade ports give you infinite quarters, is silly, because you just die all the time and it breaks the flow of the game constantly. And if they give you a finite number of quarters, is also silly, because the game is trying to take as many of them as you can. It's weird. Oh, I completely forgot to get those numbing mists. That sucks. So yeah, that's what the numbing mists are for. Vicar Amelia, as her cleric namesake kind of suggests, can heal mid-fight, which is suck, but, you know, we have to deal with it. Ugh, did we really miss that? That sucks. Ooh, that went badly. Come on. for us there. Not gonna happen. Ugh, I'm jumping by accident a lot. It's really bad. Whoa. Got hit by that again. Okay. Nope, no. Okay, that was just terrible. Yeah, like, so the Cassius is in the chat talking about how Super Meat Boy's designers were very conscientious of the fact that respawns as a currency is something that's changed a lot. And it's something that actually, I feel like video games took a really long time to properly evolve from. Because even, like, a lot of early, a lot of games for the entirety of the PS1's lifespan and a lot of the early PS2's lifespan still had this fixed life continue system. And these days, you play those games and they don't really make sense. Like, you, for example, playing like Crash Bandicoot or something, it doesn't feel necessary to push you back any further than to the last checkpoint when you run out of lives. It feels like something that doesn't make sense as a system. And it's not exclusively, but it kind of does have its roots in trying to get quarters from players in an arcade. And I think that's really interesting. I think that's interesting about how video games as a whole have had difficulty evolving from the hyper-capitalist system in which they were developed. Oh my gosh, thank you for following, whoever it was that just followed. I think that might bring us to 50 followers. If it does, I'm really psyched about that. Let's try this again, shall we? Oh, bad start. Okay, so I want that combo to last 3 hits so I can dash out before she does that attack. And yeah, I did 4. Okay. That's me. I'm greedy. But then Bloodborne makes you want to be greedy, doesn't it? Because you get these stagger windows, you get rally, like... Greed is good in this game. And honestly, I love games like that. Games that tempt you to overcommit are really good. Because playing it safe the whole time is, is good for some genres of game, but having the choice is really nice. It makes you feel smart if you don't overcommit and are rewarded, and it makes you feel smart if you overcommit and are rewarded. It's great. Everybody wins. Oof. Oh, that was rude. That was extremely rude. Okay, I'm just burning through blood vials here. Dash in after this, don't I? Ooh. Woof, that was a lucky visceral attack. She liked the defense boost. Ow, rough. Oof, that would definitely have killed me. Ugh. That heal move is real ass on New Game Plus because I don't know, the way that damage gets scaled into New Game Plus means that a lot of the bosses have weird artifacts, and particularly bosses that heal like percentage health per second or something. Like, it means that she can just heal all the damage that you've done in a really, really long time, and it just sucks. No, not this time. Someone in the chat has probably pointed out that I forgot to equip the numbing mists again, and they're completely right. I'm exactly that person. Well, this has not gone so well. Ooh. One time. There we go. Okay, that's pretty good for us. Having 3 vials left is not very good for us, but I have faith. Ass. If I keep getting hit by stuff like that, then my chances are not good. Nope. Ugh. Everyone in the chat reminding me to equip mists. I'm declining to equip them to annoy each and every one of you specifically, just so you know. Having watched a great deal of live streams, I know exactly what it's like to watch someone forget to do the thing every single time, and it turns out that trying to give vaguely interesting, which I hope this is, commentary on video games while playing them, it fills up some of the spaces in your mind that you would otherwise use to change what you were doing on an iterative process, which is going to be my excuse. And also, having a finite number of numbing mists means that if I bonk this, if I totally goof this up, it means I'll have run out of a finite resource, which is annoying. I don't even know if I can buy them yet. Can I buy them yet? Let's find out. What up, Amelia? That sucks. So another thing Amelia has that is something that we're going to see on a lot of Bloodborne bosses is the idea of multiple hit zones, each of which gives its own stagger. I can't for the life of me remember if any particular Dark Souls 1 bosses had this, but it's something that the FromSoft designers really into, and I'm really into it too, because it makes you feel very smart for remembering which areas of the boss that you've hit already. Nope, don't do that. Nope, give me that, give me that, give me that. Ah, there we go. Okay. We're doing okay. We're making progress. Where are you going? You go over there. Oh, that was a bad jump. Luckily, I'm okay. Bad. Jeez, that was close. Nope, not this time. Oh, I immediately get hit for just a boatload of damage. So as long as she's got that aura, she can't heal, which is great. I love it when she can't heal. Oop, I don't even know what happened there. Ah, jeez. Okay, we nearly died there. Okay, what we really want is another visceral attack, and not to die immediately. That would be nice. Scrappy. Why did we do that? Why did that happen? Again. That was super close. Oh, no, not this time. Nope. No. Oh, fuck. Oh, this is so bad. Come on. No. One more combo. One more combo. There we go. Prey slaughtered. So, that was Vicar Amelia. this is just me. Lots of people put this point at lots of different points of the game, but I consider Vicar Amelia to be very much the floodgate for Bloodborne. If you can beat Vicar Amelia, you can beat Bloodborne. She is, for me, in terms of like boss difficulty to relative player like avatar strength, she is definitely the hardest. She expects you to have grown the most as a player by the time you get to her, and tests you on that without remorse, I guess. So the things that I guess was talking about before we began this fight were the very purposeful uses of imagery, and the, again, maybe slightly uncomfortable fact that this is one of the only women that this game deigns to introduce us to. We have a lady who is dressed in white, praying to a deity, praying to the church, praying to her faith, appealing to her faith to protect her from the world, which, for this pure lady of white is not it's not a weird thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but the things that happen next are interesting. So as soon as we see her delivering this prayer, we see her talking to nobody in particular, appealing to her faith. The very next thing that happens is she loses control over her physical form and begins to shift and change. She grows this wiry hair that we're so used to, and we get this absolutely fantastic shot, which if I was replaying this game, I would have shown, if I was, action replaying, if I could rewind it, I would show multiple times, which is the shot where she is convulsing, she's distressed, she's clearly in pain, and then we get this shot of like a splash of blood onto that statue, which sadly no longer remains, and I'm sad because it's one of the least subtle shots in the game, and I wish the evidence of it was left in the game. But yeah, this is not a particularly high level reading of what we're seeing here, but this is pretty clearly period imagery, right? That is definitely what we're going for here with Amelia's transformation sequence. You could probably quite convincingly argue that this transformation here is meant to be us. We're meant to interpret that as her, struggling with a monstrosity that is emerging from her femininity in some way, and that's really interesting. That's something that we want to take note of as part of Bloodborne's, I guess, ideological stance. But anyway, we're going to light this lamp to allow us to come back here later, and we're going to see what she was praying to. So we have this very elaborately decorated golden shrine. Now, golden shrines are, if you're no stranger to Catholicism, golden shrines are a big deal in religion. They're, this sort of ostentatiousness, this visual flair, this penchant for showing off, and particularly showing off wealth, I guess, is a very common religious imagery, and it's used here quite effectively. Catholicism, Yharnam's proximity to Catholicism, and indeed the Healing Church's proximity to Catholicism, is a connection that is, I wouldn't say laboured, but certainly made very clear. So, and right on this shrine, we have a skull, a big skull, with this wiry hair that we've seen so much of. And since we don't know any better, we're going to inspect it. Which obviously, like a good investigator, we do with our hands.
Master William, I've come to bid you farewell. Oh, I know. You think now to betray me. No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood.
Fear the old blood. Now, in context with our full quote of being born of blood, being made men by blood, and being undone by blood, fear the old blood maybe might not seem so innocuous, but on the backdrop of the adventures that we've previously taken into Old Yharnam, this idea of, that we've seen pretty explicitly, this idea that the new Yharnam is built pretty directly on the remains of the old, and the implication that even that Yharnam was built on an older, downtrodden Yharnam. The idea of fearing the old blood takes on maybe an even darker idea. This idea of maybe like the old blood, the shadow of Yharnam's past, this idea of what we've left behind is to be feared, as an other might be feared already. Like, we've seen that the Yharnamites fear the other. The night of the hunt, it makes that pretty clear for us. We are ostracized and attacked by the people of Yharnam, but these people, Master Willem and Lawrence. Master Willem we will meet quite soon. Lawrence not for some time, but we will meet them both. And the idea that these people have taken as a mantra the idea that you should fear what has been left behind, what has been necessarily downtrodden by the power structures of Yharnam, is quite dark and sinister. Another thing that Regression is saying in the chat, that don't worry, I haven't forgotten. Master Willem is certain to point out that our eyes have yet to open. And what could that mean? What could that mean for a scholar of a place, we're about to find out, a scholar of a place like Bergenworth, a university where a great deal of research is undertaken? What eyes could be yet to open? We shall see. So, yeah, I'm going to return to the Hunter's Dream. And we're actually not doing too bad for time as it happens. What should we do now? I'm going to spend these blood echoes, but I'm not actually sure what we should do next.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it you desire?
What is it I desire? One more point in endurance, and some points in vitality, I think.
Farewell, May.
Can we spend enough cold blood to level up again? Oh, doesn't look like it. Well, maybe. Oh. That is close, but I think it doesn't get there.
Very well,
No, it doesn't get there. I think I'm going to pop out and get a little more blood echoes so we can level up again. Eye of a blood-drunk hunter. Ah, yes. Having beaten Vicar Amelia, we now have access to the DLC edition to Bloodborne, the Old Hunters DLC. I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to do it later, much later, probably after we've done the rest of the main game, because I think it benefits from that context of knowing everything else, else there is to know about the base game of Bloodborne. So yeah, for now, actually, can I sell, rather than going out and coming back, I'm just going to sell some bloodstone shards. We needed like that many.
welcome. What is? Very well. Farewell, May.
So I guess the question that we have to ask now is, because it's like 10 to midnight, so the options that we have available are to either call this stream here, job well done, good job on killing a Vicar Amelia, or we can start exploring the Hemwick Charnel Lane, which is the next most interesting place for us to go to. And I guess it's, I don't know, do we want to do that? Do people in the chat want us to go to Hemwick Charnel Lane now or next week? Because, I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroads myself. I can't really decide. Sound off in the chat if you'd like to do either of those things. Alright, that's 2 emphatic votes for Hemwick Charnel Lane and no votes against. So Hemwick Charnel Lane it is. Oh, I'm so psyched we made 50 followers. That's really cool. Oh no. I've just noticed that we've got 0 blood vials in the tank, which is great because it means that we killed Vicar Amelia at literally the last opportunity. So yay us. Can we get some blood vials off these folks? No, they have bullets. Come at me, you coward. Just cross me. So that's the new meter that we haven't seen. That swirly meter. That is the frenzy meter. And the frenzy meter is interesting because I mean I guess we don't get to see it in all of its glory just yet. But like almost everything else I've discussed, it really comes into its own later on in the game as the game's themes of a lingering, creeping dread and an encroaching madness start to develop into their own slightly more. So yeah, that's something to watch out for. That frenzy meter is going to become a very big deal towards the end of the game. We're just getting a little hint at it right now. So this lovely looking location marked by gravestones and ominous foliage is I believe is the pathway to Hemwick Charnel Lane. And I'll be proven right or wrong shortly. Well, this is nice. I like this this imagery. It's almost kind of like I don't know. It's almost kind of like the kind of grave you'd see at maybe like a mining community, like gravestones all by rocks on a pathway. Yeah, and they want you to know who came before, who died in service to this place. I like it. So this is a sort of a shiny new space for us to investigate as a Bloodborne player. Is this it's wide open space, really wide, even wider than the graveyard at the Cathedral Ward, and lots of enemies with guns. So we're going to try and pick off as many of those as we can. Oh, and a new kind of dog. This is maybe like one of the more stark examples of the brutality of the mob in the mob in this game, is that they appear to have physically modded their dogs with blades, which is grim as hell. Like, weaponizing the beast in the hunt against the beast is you know, that's a pretty stark. I guess I'd say it's like an image choice, like, you know, an aesthetic choice, certainly. Like, look, you can see that they're wrapped together with ropes and stuff. It looks immensely painful to exist in that fashion, and yet the dogs do. Grim. Can I pull these? Nope. It's a lot of gun pals. Oh, big damage. Jeez. Okay, so I guess the nature of Hemwick Charnel Lane is such that I probably won't get all the way through it in the next half hour or so. So what I'll probably do is when I get to the first lantern or so, I will take stock of how far we are and see if it makes sense to continue the stream or just pick it up again next time. Because I do have to go to bed at some point, sadly. I know, I'm disappointed too. Regression in the chat saying that Mod Dog is Chaos Theory's favorite snack, and I think yeah, I think Mod Dog was like a tier 2 deck, like around the second expansion cycle, you know. Yeah. It's a Netrunner joke. It wasn't a very good one either. See, if I was smart, what I would have done when I beat Vicar Amelia is rather than gain 1 point in vitality, buy some more blood vials. But I'm not a very smart person, and thus I did not do this. Ugh. That was pretty cool. Oh, absolutely stacked with bullets. Ooh. Those transformation attacks look super good. I love the way that the blades whirl around for slightly longer than they should. Oh, just whipping that blade around in your hand looks cool as heck. Interesting thing about those NPC voice lines I like so much. That one was "This town's finished," which strikes me as a sort of humorously pedestrian thing to say, like, and you know that's not without thematic significance. Like portraying what is in this game like a very sort of dark and inherently violent xenophobia as something that, you know, is not so far from your standard hand wringing about a location going downhill because of, you know, in the common case, people will be complaining about things like immigration or certainly dog whistles for immigration, and comparing those two things through the use of that voice line is something I like a lot. If anyone is wondering, there is nothing in this game, or indeed any other, that I will not make about class. Nothing. Try and make me. You can't. I won't do it. Oh, get out of the way of that gun. Okay. That dash attack is really something. So, well, Will is in the chat baiting me into trying to make a coherent class-based analysis out of the Netflix original movie Bright, which is an admirable attempt, but I said video games. So contact me when they make the Bright movie into a video game, because I definitely want to play that. That sounds great in a way that would be terrible. Regression is in the chat asking me to explain quantum chromodynamics, and I can't do that. I definitely can't do that without at least one Wikipedia page open, because any attempt I make to explain this without relevant literature in front of me is gonna just be completely wrong. But I don't know. Shout me out in the comments if, oh no, this has happened. Oh, I hate that this has happened. Shout me out in the comments, or indeed the chat, if you want a future stream where I prepare an explanation of quantum chromodynamics. I'd forgotten that this happened. So, what are we on now? I think we might actually be on the fourth thing I dislike about Bloodborne. Eventually I will check through the stream logs and make sure exactly where we are and compile a proper list. But at the moment we're going pretty well with ad hoc. But let's say for now it's the fourth thing. The fourth thing I dislike about Bloodborne is that the blood vials double in price, or significantly increase in price. And maybe you could say that this is a subset of my problem with the farming in the game. The fact that you have to grind out blood vials. But in my head, they're two distinct but equally horrible problems with the game. I just hate so much that the blood vials increase in price. Why do they increase in price? Why does the amount of money that would have bought me over 20 blood vials 20 minutes ago now buy me even less? Because me having more than 20 blood vials, it doesn't add anything to the game that I like. I hate it. It sucks. But an extended period of time looking at those messengers has reminded me of the silver lining to all of this mess, which is the messenger stump. So, here's a question. Messenger top hat or black messenger hat for the messengers? Let's have some votes in the chat. There are at least 3 of you there. So, messenger top hat or black messenger hat? We can model them. Let's have them model them. So that's the top hat. Ooh, that's a good look. I like that look. Or the black hat, which is the kind of look I'm rocking right now. Ooh, see, with the black hat, they get those sort of scarfy type things around their necks. I like that too. Ooh, both very compelling options. I like them. Okay, we got 1 vote for top hats. Anyone else want to give any votes, or are we going straight for the top hats? Which, I can understand. The top hats are good. Ooh, that's 2 votes for top hats. And barring some kind of significant upheaval, I think that's the way it's going to stay. Now these messengers, all the messengers in the game are now adorned with top hats. So that means that when we find stuff on the floor, be it messages, be it anything, be it the folks in the bath. I mean, not these folks in the bath, but eventually, all the messengers in the game will have top hats. I don't actually know if we need to reset them or something. But the point is, top hats on messengers look good. So, back to Emmett Online. And this, yes. Because even though I was on complete autopilot and didn't even notice it, we did actually make it to the first lantern, which is great. I love lanterns. So this is the Hemwick Charnel Lane. This is an interesting area, especially in contrast to the areas that we've been to already and the areas that we've been given the opportunity to visit. So far, if you'll recall, we've been to Central Yharnam, we've been to Old Yharnam, and we've been to the Cathedral Ward. Now, This area is a pretty direct contrast to those areas because unlike Yarnum, which is our sort of town and city, Old Yarnum, which is the town and city, the dark past, the forgotten remnants of the culture that is now Central Yarnum, and the Cathedral Ward, which is the church at which those people pray, their light in the darkness, the beacon of faith to these people. This is a completely different, much more rural space. And I guess immediately we can see that it has a different set of fears to play into. It has a different set of I guess horror tropes that it's working with to work into Bloodborne's general aesthetic. So we're gonna investigate some of these. So already, first image is really something. We have some villager type folks holding torches. You know, so that's how you can tell that they're normal people. Is that they're dancing in weird circles, holding torches. This one's on the ground, having a bit of a cry. So yeah, this is an idea that video games absolutely love. The idea of inscrutable, you know, I guess less sophisticated culturally village people who you can feel justified in killing, which is kind of weird. It's a weird thing about video games. I'm not sure if I like it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I dislike it. But here we are anyway. Oh hey, Eshalar's going to bed. Good night, Eshalar. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad you came to the stream. I love it when people come to the stream. I hope you join us next time. You more twin bloodstone shards. Again, just to sort of other them even more from the denizens of Central Yarnum, they've got their weapons are all farming implements, right? That's a pretty mostly farming implements, or definitely like from their tools adjacent to that profession. And that one who we've killed now had a glowing red kind of. I don't know exactly what it was. It was like a sort of like tilling implement, maybe like a hoe or something, and that's kind of weird. They're you know, they're not just whacking me with their farming gear. They're really dedicating it to the purpose of killing. This is a shortcut we need to activate at some point. This is another cool thing about Bloodborne. I guess it's an offshoot of the laughter thing I was talking about before, but there are so many NPCs who really just have a good scream at you. But this, like everything else, is not devoid of thematic relevance, because having moved outside of Yarnum, where I was pointing out this fact that all of the people who were inside the houses seemed to be having a fucking whale of a time. They were just laughing so much, despite the fact that they were clearly knowledgeable of this hunt going on outside where everyone was dying. Meanwhile, this person here is clearly not having a good time. Like, they're having a big old scream and moan. And, yeah, like, they're having a shit time. Like, outside, look at this. Horrible. What's going on here? It's not even clear to us who these people were. Like, why were they killed and trussed up? Why are their bodies here? Why is the person in there, the person having a moan, you know, are they happy about it? We don't know. Like, despite clearly being a very different, even, you know, so close to Central Yarnum, despite being a very different culture, a more rural culture, they're clearly afflicted by the hunt in they're clearly afflicted by the hunt to the same magnitude, but not in the same way. And throughout this space, we're going to find out little bits of the difference. So Shocks Away is in the chat saying that you spend a lot of time talking to people through windows and doors, huh? And that is absolutely right. It is a part of this game's way of reinforcing your otherness. The people who live here, the people who essentially dominate this space, refuse to engage with you on a one-to-one level. They will only do so from the comfort and safety of their own homes, a comfort and safety that is denied not only to you, but to the lower classes of Yharnam. It demonstrates more so in Central Yharnam, but it demonstrates that the upper class of Yharnam who are benefiting from this purge, this hunt, are subjecting the people. They're subjecting the people they are. Sound off in the chat if we're back. Okay, sounds like we might be back. Wow, this is the most problems that we've had of any stream so far. So good for us, I guess. I guess we're soldiering on through them. Hey, Fidgety Frolic, what's up? Thanks for telling me the stream's back. I'm glad the stream's back. My current viewers has dropped 2, which is great. Love it when OBS crashes and doesn't tell me. I love that the most. Just the most. That sucks. Oh no, back up to 12 again. Okay, cool. In that case, we will resume. Sorry about that. It seems that OBS is not particularly interested in telling me when it has crashed. Just crashes in silence. You know, like good software does. Okay. Ooh, that was close. That's a neat touch. Like, you run along here, you're okay. You get to hear this this villager charges at you, gives you a shove, and you feel like you're safe, but you're not. This is right where the edge of the geo ends, and you just flop off and die. But it's too layered because there is a platform down there. Or at least it looks like one. Maybe that's not. No, never mind. I don't think we can go down there. And if we can, I'll be surprised. But I like that push. I like that she runs out and pushes you. It's nice. It's a variant upon the usual, just rushing out and getting attacked. Okay, we're going to kill you. Oh, that's not how you shoot. We didn't kill you. Oh dear. Famous last words. Oh, yeah, 2 stream crashes in one stream is a lot. That's excessive. Thanks, stream. Jeez. Okay. So I guess now I kind of need to think about how far I want to get through this area. Because I'm gonna rush past these folks. I'm gonna go get my blood echoes back, because I like those. We need them to buy vials now. Sad. Oh, we should have taken the shortcut. That's me, always mindful. God damn it. Okay. What are we going to have to deal with here? Oh no, this has gone badly. Oh, we need to kill you, don't we? You're going to make things really unpleasant for us. Oh no, heck. Mash dodge. Ugh. I'm not doing this very intelligently. It's just kind of happening to me. Oh. She interrupted the dash attack. Nobody has ever done that. Okay. Now let's try this again. Give me my blood echoes. Oh no. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. So we got our echoes back, and we get to walk into this set piece, which I like. We get to walk into a dark barn, and like, you know, this is a pretty dark video game, like visually speaking. There's not a lot of light to be had, so removing even more of it is something that I like. I like that it's ominous. This pretty hyphy dog who we're gonna shank all the way up. We're gonna just deal with that ambush as and when it comes. So we've nearly gone through all of the blood vials we were able to buy. That's just so cool. I love that. Yeah. So there is a way up there, but I don't think we can get there yet. The chat is toiling surreptitiously on the topic of a non-violent crow, something of which I am not aware. So, if you want to see it, let me know where it is and we can go see it, and we can discuss the implications of it. I love discussing the implications of things I haven't seen. Getting a lot of blood gemstones. Maybe I should think about putting one or more in my weapon. So, like, I guess, you know, take an opportunity to stop and smell the roses here. This is an enormously stark contrast to even old Yharnam, but particularly central Yharnam. Like, this is so provincial compared to the, relatively speaking, you know, I guess almost metropolitan kind of area that we had in central Yharnam. Like, these walls are bare. The decor is ultra minimalist as opposed to the extremely maximalist stuff that we'd seen in the very Gothic Victorian Yharnam. There's the shelves are disorganized. Everything is very like broad strokes. It's not as intricate as every single detail of Yharnam is. And that paints an interesting contrast. It shows you that the world is bigger than Yharnam, you know? Not everywhere in the world of Bloodborne is as gothic as Yharnam is. I like that. Even though these two spaces are right next to each other, they help to communicate that the world is a lot bigger than what you would otherwise think it was. What was that? What was that? The start up on those attacks is something else. Okay. So, wandering around on these rooftops. And we get to see a bigger look at Hemwick Channel Lane. And, you know, these games are planned out in a very smart way. Like this is how you can tell that the people who design the levels in these games really enjoy their jobs. Is that even just the way that you encounter all of the various spaces in the game itself tells a story. On top of the narrative and all of that other stuff, like just moving from place to place in the way that the game wants you to tells a story. And the way that this made me think of that is like we have another vantage point on the rest of the channel lane here, and like the places that the game decides to give you a better look at the world and like to put the rest of it in perspective for you is paced out in a very deliberate way, and I dig that. It has a very clear engagement curve. Oh no, this is really bad. Yeah, we were never going to make it out of there. So let's take the left shortcut this time and just try and rush back and get those echoes. Because we need those echoes to buy blood. So apparently we're looking for a non-violent crow near the emergence point of this lift. So saith the chat. There's a lot of crows here. I don't know if I'm There's a whole lot of crows there. Wait, has that crow been... Nope, that's a violent crow. It's one of these violent crows I've heard about. And these ones are also violent. Well, this has done little to change my opinion about crows. Okay, well, by induction, if I kill all of the crows who are violent towards me, then the non-violent one must emerge. Is it that one? Looks like it. Well, isn't this curious? I have never before noticed this. Jesus. There's another violent one just behind it. So anyone who knows me and anyone who knows how I tend to approach artistic works in terms of analysis will know that generally I try to de-emphasize the intentions of the creator in analysis, because I prefer talking about how a work made each individual person feel and stuff like that. However, this is one of those cases where I would really like to know what the creator meant by this, because from here it's difficult for me to tell whether this was intentional or not. But for now, this crow and I are friends. I'm going to take selfies with this crow. I'm going to share my blood echoes with this crow. I love it. It is probably a vehicle for my guilt about killing Eileen. That was an interesting thing to see. Maybe we'll come back to this crow when I am a little more sure of its space in this game. Ugh. Oh no. Oh, hello. Didn't even see you before. And now here I am, 2 twin bloodstone shards richer. Oh, you've got my echoes. Excellent. You're much easier to kill than those big giants. Owned. So yeah, as I was saying before I was so rudely trapped and killed, like, gaining a perspective on levels is treated with it's treated with the kind of respect and premium that, you know, you would sort of, is uncommon for level designers, and I think is a really good thing about level designers. It shows that these level designers really care about how you experience their world. And it shows that they've got a lot of time to, Ooh. Oh, that was not terrible damage, actually. Oh no, am I still gonna die? Okay, we didn't. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, I didn't die, sadly. Owned. So yeah, I think what I will... what time is it? Oh, it's like past. I think I've probably got time to take a run at the boss of this area. So yeah, I guess the main thing about this area is it gives us perspective for the existence of a wider world beyond Yharnam. It gives us a very clear extremity to the world. Like this is a, you know, almost like it's a coast. Like, look, there's nothing out there. That's interesting. That's cool. And it also shows us that location over there, which seems to be inaccessible to us, but we will eventually find is not. But yeah, this sort of area of the game is mostly about perspective and contextualizing, you know, the sort of the overall continuity of Yharnam. And it does that both geographically and culturally, which is good. If you can do both of those in one go, then you should. And Bloodborne does. Good old piles of bodies. We're going to slip past these folks for now and open up this shortcut, which I'm going to use to once again spend all my echoes on blood vials, because we need them and we ain't got them. Oh, suck. Oh no, this has gone so badly. Well, guess we're all in and running. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm gonna buy some blood vials, and then we're gonna have a pop at this area boss. Where? That's so few. Alright. Back to the lane. Alright, so we're gonna run, make use of this new shortcut that we found. Disengage. There you go. Ugh. This is a nice touch. There's like a little vestige of organized religion in this place, which makes sense, right? Like this is where all the dead people are, and those people are all going to need last rites. Those people are going to need their souls guided to the afterlife. So it makes sense that, in a small way, the ideological presence and aesthetic, consequently, of religion should be here. I'm going to need to deal with some of these enemies, or I'm not going to be able to progress. Oh no, it's all gone so wrong. Okay, owing to the hour, I'm going to make one more run at this boss, and I'm probably not gonna spend too much time killing the enemies in the zone. And if I don't make it, that's fine. We will just begin the next stream with this boss, and if I do make it, then I will have a pop. If I recall correctly, the next boss is not too challenging, certainly not as challenging as Vicar Amelia, but still, Bloodborne boss, not easy either. It's fairly gimmicky. It's not difficult in terms of raw game skill, I guess. It's difficult in an unusual way that you'll see shortly. I'm going to try and aggro fewer of these enemies as I run up this hill this time. Yeah, there are lots of people in this house, so we need to kill a few of them if we can. Oh. Okay. I think that's probably a sign that maybe we should call it for this evening. So, as usual, I guess, thank you for watching Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs. Hopefully it has been engaging. Hopefully, if you were seeking to learn something new about Bloodborne, that you have. Thank you everyone who followed during the stream. Thank you for bringing me up to 50 followers, which is great. It means that I can start working on that subscriber notification that I've been putting off developing for a while. And yeah, so today we explored the Cathedral Ward. We talked a bit about, I guess, had a wider exploration of Bloodborne's relationship to femininity and the monstrousness that it claims is suggests is inherent in that idea. And yeah, and then we ended up here, I guess. So thanks everyone for watching. But hopefully, with a bit of luck, I will see you next time.